Hi, I'm going live again. It's now 8:05. My apologies for those who've already listened to the first 5 minutes if you have been on live and I haven't been able to see that you're there. But I started noticing there was a bit of a disruption between what I was saying and my voice and my face on the screen, so I thought perhaps we weren't connected properly. So I'm Cheryl Andrews. I'm the founder of Step by Step Listening, and I'm also known as the Strength and Solution Detective. And I'm all about asking questions that help you get clarity of what you want and the confidence to ask for it and to make that happen. But more importantly, about you being really okay about being you in a group, so working, learning and living at your very best with other people. So welcome. This is our live Q&A that takes place between 8 and 8:30 every Friday in the Facebook group called Manage Your Critic, From Overwhelm to Clarity in 7 Steps. And today I want to talk about step 7, which is the why from the word clarity, and it's all about you. Now, in essence, what this is all about is that there's the 3 lessons in here in this chapter. Is about your why, your story without the drama, and also the whole of you. And I want to talk about those today in a bit more detail. So someone has just come on live. Great, fantastic. I'm glad I reset it and started again. I wasn't sure if it's working. Good morning, Tom. Thanks for joining us. So as I'm talking, Tom, any questions, any thoughts you've got, please put them below. Say hi, and then I can actually use live case studies and questions and examples as we're talking. So I want to talk about your why. One of the things that many people, when I'm working with them, they sort of feel a bit lost. They've lost their clarity, they've lost their confidence, they've lost direction. And they'll say things like, you know, I want to find my purpose. I want to find what I'm on the planet for. I want to have, it's like this, I don't know if it's the right wording, but like a sense of calling. So you just want to be able to, they want to be able to feel it inside that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I often see people like searching, like looking for some signs and some warning signs about their why. So I want to just talk about the why question. Many of us don't find the why question particularly easy to answer, which is why I love clean language, because it's a question, the question system that actually asks you questions of the language and your tense and however you speak so that you can make sense of yourself. But we are all ultimately, I believe, searching for that spiritual why, that purpose, that sense of that we matter. So I want to just first of all say, Tom, thank you very much for being here, because you showing up, and actually I feel quite emotional actually, because you do keep showing up in my life and it's just amazing. And I feel so grateful that you're there, because you were the person that answered my newsletters, you are the person that read the book, you are the person that gave me some feedback, among other people as well. But you consistently show up. So I want you to know, Tom, particularly as you're here live with me, that you matter, that you make a massive difference just by being you. And so when people are searching for their why, what I will say to you is it's in your story. It's in your present action, and it's in your dreams and your vision. And it's about actually taking some time to get the magnifying glass out, ask some questions, track the patterns, but also paying attention to all of your 5 senses, you know, thinking about your taste, your smell, what you hear, what you see, what you feel. I talk about in the book about Helen Monahan's book, Successful Business Minds and the Meeting of the 4 Minds. So it's actually thinking about your body, your heart, your soul, and I can only think of 3, so what, and your head. And it's thinking about those 4 key areas and actually checking out all of those areas, and then start to look for the patterns, look for the relationships, look for the connection, because you are always on purpose. You are on purpose. You can't not be. Just by showing up and being you, by showing up and saying and doing whatever is it you do, you make a difference. You change people's lives just by being where you are on your journey, being where you are with your knowledge, with your wisdom, with your understanding of the world. Then even when you upset people, even if you make them really joyous, you are having a difference. And maybe people needed those lessons in order to help propel. No, I don't think it's maybe. They do need to have those lessons to move them forward. So the why really is about you paying attention to what works. So the questions I want to ask you right now is just thinking back, reflecting. You know, just take a moment now to think about the times when you've really, really been really happy. And when I started doing this for myself, is like when I'm in a group and I feel like everybody in the group has been heard and understood, and they are being valued and they're being acknowledged. I find I get quite emotional because I just feel really touched and really, really grateful that people are being really honoured and respected. So So I want you to think now, of times when it brings you absolute joy, when you feel really touched by stuff. Okay. But also go back and think about when it makes you really angry, really mad. So I have this kind of like feeling inside that when I think someone's not been heard, or I think someone's been talked over, and I have to confess I'm guilty of talking over people, and I'm guilty of not always hearing people. It's called being human, but it's why I've spent my whole time developing my listening skills, developing my ability to be better at honouring and respecting both myself and those around me. But actually for me, I get really cross inside, and I can't not say anything. If I think somebody has been left out or excluded or not acknowledged in any way, shape or form, it's kind of like I can't stop myself. I hate it, and I feel I have to. I mean, I'm not saying I always say something, but I can feel it inside that I can't. It's not right. So I want you to think about that as well. So, and that kind of, those questions, I nothing I've come up with is original, I don't think. It's simply that I've pulled all the learning together. And I worked with Lucy Whittington a couple of years ago. And that's what she says in her book on, if you ever look at Find Your Thing. She talks about, things that really make you really, really happy and things that make you really, really angry, really cross, really frustrated. And those can start to give you some sense of what really, really matters to you. What is it that, really pulls on you? I also think that your why can be for you personally, it can be for you and your family, it could be for the community, and it can be globally. And actually, when you really start to tune into it and you really start to resonate with it and you go, this is why I'm on the planet, this is my purpose, even though you may only be working with, say, 12 clients a month, or you may be working with your circle of friends, you can see how you doing what you do will have a global impact. And it's when I do believe that when you can take it from being what you need and what's important to you to a global, and there's various frames of time in between that and size, when you can get to a recognition that you are having a global impact, that you matter globally, that's when you get your motivation. That's when you get the drive. That's when you get the focus. That's when you get the ability to push against the tide, to really work hard, even when it gets difficult. That's when you've got the ability to be comfortable with uncomfortable. So it's really important that you actually tune into and find your why. And if you can't do that, then obviously, yes, I'm around and I'd love to help you, because I was 3 clients this week. Client yesterday in a power group, she very logically, she was using her head and she was mapping out her process. She was going to set this new business up, and the first thing she needs to do is this, and the second thing she needs to do is this, and she was very, very logical, and she said she wanted a strategy, and she got a very what I call a male energy strategy, but I was looking at her and I was thinking, she doesn't look very excited. She doesn't, like something was missing, and I've worked with her for a number of years, so I know when I see her light up, I know when she's enthusiastic, and I could remember these 2 things that she was talking about before, and because I've spotted those patterns, I could ask her some questions about that. And then suddenly, like the lights went on, the fireworks went off, and she was like, yeah, I get it, yeah, that's it. And it's sort of like she niched down where she needed to put her attention, because it was this particular area that was really going to resonate with her, and it aligned with everything she's ever done in the past, everything she wants for the future. It aligned with what really matters for her. It's her creative side, but it's also what matters with her and her partner. It just all linked in, and it all made sense. And it's like, sometimes you can't see that bit for yourself. You do need people outside of you. And I think for me, writing the book, I know that writing the book was the way of me getting that reflection. It was the way of me getting that feedback of what matters to me, because I had to be really clear about what I wanted to put in the book. And then I was reading it day in and day out. You're very welcome, Tom. So those that be watching this perhaps on YouTube later on, Tom says, thank you, Cheryl, making me emotional. Over the last few weeks after the Manage Your Critic 21-day course, my critic has gone, and I'm now doing things for me instead of trying to make others. And I can't see that. Let me just, I got to press see more. Make other people happy and failing. If people aren't happy with my decisions, then it can be discussed. Fantastic. Get me emotional too now, Tom, because we all matter. And I have to say that I'd spent years helping other people to feel like they fit in, feel like they belong. And when I realised that whilst that was my why and that's my purpose, if I didn't live it myself, if I didn't find a way of feeling included, if I didn't find a way of feeling loved and accepted and heard and understood, I'll get all teary now, then I wasn't, how could I inspire other people? And it wasn't really fair that I was giving it to other people, but I wasn't receiving it. And so I'm really very, very, very honoured now to be in that position where I have got that kind of support network. I've got the trust. I can't believe, Penny, thank you so much for joining us today. Penny, I just recommended in an email yesterday, a great person who over the years has known me. You're such a gentle soul. You're always so kind to me. I'm going to get teary again now. The photographs you take of me. So anyone who sees my websites and see my fantastic hat is down to Penny Plimmer from JPEX Photographics. Penny's just got this really lovely way of reflecting back the good in you, both in her photographs, but also just in her being. She just shows up and she doesn't judge you. And that makes such a difference. And so you've been somebody that's been instrumental for me feeling heard, feeling understood, and learning to not judge myself. So huge thank you. DL, hi, thanks for joining us. And DL, gosh, you are such a soul of such energy. Again, you've been in my life for the last, I think it's about a year now we met. Probably one of my things I don't particularly do well is sing. But I love music, but I haven't got a very good attention to holding on to it. And just being around you, you have been such an energy for sharing and giving. You remind me of the power of giving. And I know that when I got to my lowest points, I was like, I knew I was here to give. I knew I was, people say, yeah, givers gain, but I was giving so much that I got to a point where I was so exhausted. And I was like, I remember thinking, when is it my turn? I'm here to help everybody else. When is it my turn? And then people like you, DL, come into my life, and you gave and gave and gave, and it was like retweets all the time, retweets, sharing this, sending me emails about PR, reminding me to do all the things that I need to do to get out there and get myself heard, and your commitment and your passion for the author's journey and helping people to get their audiobooks out there. But you do it in such a way that you reminded me of who I used to be before my critic got into overwhelm, and I just lost sight of what mattered. Thank you, Penny. I can't help but talk from my heart. And luckily, I have to say as well, probably because of all the work I've done with managing my critic and because I've got people like you in my life, is that now when I talk from my heart, which brings me on to the next point, which is about telling your story without the drama, because my heart feels full of love now, and it just gets topped up day on day on day, because now that I'm not overwhelmed with all that critic in my head, I can see love. Even today, the sun's coming up over the rooftops as I'm sat here. I went to do the video this morning and my iPod, I've snapped it. I've obviously stood on it down here and I snapped it. My iPad wasn't charged. So I've now got my phone balancing here. I've got the sun coming in. I just sat here this morning listening to the birds and window open, nice and fresh, and cold air coming in. And it's because I can tell my story without the drama. So that's the point 2 in chapter 7, the step 7 on clarity. Is if you can tell your story without the drama, then you've healed any pain that you've experienced. You've got to the point where the painful lessons you've had, they've become a lesson, and now you can teach it, you can share it. And you can do that really quickly if you pay attention, if you listen daily, if you meditate on it, if you give yourself some time to slow the world down and just listen to what really matters to you. What do you really want to have happen? This week is a good example for me. I made a big decision that I've been doing this newsletter. I send it out every Wednesday, and it takes me a couple of hours a week. And sometimes I'm not in a good frame of mind to do a news update. I've got stuff going on, I've got things going, and I fact because I'm then sort of working against my rhythm, it's really hard work. So I sent a letter out saying I'm actually going to drop this down to monthly. I'm not going to do it weekly. And guess what happens? The minute I stop pushing, stop trying so hard, stop trying to be there, just stop the hamster wheel, and gave myself some time to really stop and think about it. It was so clear for me today what I'm supposed to focus on this year. And do you know what? It's written on a notice above in my room where I work. So it says, my focus this year is to attract health, wealth, and happiness. And I want to work with people who want more health, wealth, and happiness. I want to work with people who want to have a better relationship with food, a better relationship with money, a better relationship with themselves and others. That's what I want. So it's like, and just by making that decision not to keep trying, pushing, and I was able to stop and learn the lesson. I was able to take the drama out of it. Instead of like, oh, I don't want to be doing this and I'm moaning because it's not right. And if you don't know about the drama triangle, check out the video about intention, which is, oh, how many steps is that? Step 5, I think it is. I can't do my numbers now. Because I talk about the drama triangle in there. And it's like when you can tell your story, when you can stop and go, okay, so for example, what's the iPod breaking today taught me? What have I learned from that? Well, it's that, do you know what? Maybe because I haven't got the iPod, I couldn't stand up, I couldn't do it, so I've had to sit down. So actually, do you know what? Maybe I'm supposed to sit here. I do feel a little bit like, who remembers Jackanory? Is it just me? Do you know, it's like a telling story. It's just telling you a story. Let's get comfortable. But I'm all about helping people get comfortable with uncomfortable. So why wouldn't I sit down? So it's almost like the universe has sent me, made it very difficult for me to use my iPod. It's made it very difficult for me to stand up and do all my projecting and my, you know, my star energy kind of presentation here. I've got to just quieten down and just be here. So it's okay. So every time something, I don't know if I really believe anymore it goes wrong, but if it doesn't quite go how I expect it to, and this is where people say they're uncomfortable with change, people don't like change. And I believe it's because you can't learn the lesson quick enough. And when you start to learn to take time out to really let yourself be quiet, to really listen to your inner voice, the critic and the strength and vision trajectory, the cheerleader, all those voices in your head, they are all there. There's 8 energies and they're all there to support you, to give you the best life that you can have and to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. And if you don't listen to them, they'll keep shouting. So it's much better to stop and pay attention and ask them, what would they like to have happen? And then think about how do you need to be and what would you, what support might you need? And if they come with one video, if you think out this video, please be okay with asking support. I said, I don't know if it's the women coming out of the war, fighting for independence or what's gone on, but the dynamics seem to be that women of trying to be this independent, I can do it for myself. The reality is none of us do it on our own. All right, I've written a book and it's got my name on it, but I will say to you, we said DL, Steve, you joined us. Good morning, Steve. Thanks for being here. Sean, thanks for all your love and kisses coming across. Penny, every single one of you have played your part. If you hadn't shown up in my life, this book wouldn't be here. So none of us do it on our own. And I think if we could just break down all of those barriers and stop thinking that we have to be so bloody independent and so bloody strong and we have to do it on our own, and start recognising that it's when we pull together, when we recognise the strengths in each other, when we tell other people how great they are and how they add value, that's when the magic can start to happen. You can't work with everybody all at the same time, but if you start to create your own peer learning groups, you start to create that support network, that's when you can learn quickly. That's when you can update your system, and that's when you can start to tell your story without the drama. That's when the pain of your past becomes the power of your future. It's when you can translate that. So whatever life's just dished up for you, it's a gift that you're going to learn from, and you're going to pass it on, and it's your choice. Do you learn from it quickly or slowly? If you stop and listen to it, you take some time out, you can really start to understand what it's all about. Hi, Sean. Yeah, community, that's definitely what we need to be getting more of. And Steve, who I know you've gone up, the things are going up so fast now, I can't catch up with all of them. Steve's played a massive part in helping me get more structure. Those of you know the Wealth Dynamics, I'm a blaze energy, so I'm all people, and it's like all about communication, relationships, which was a real bummer when my relationships weren't working so well. But I didn't have any systems in place. I didn't really have a way of stopping and looking at my numbers and evaluating and giving myself feedback about my business. And since I've been doing that with Steve, I've become profitable again. So it's really easy for people to assume that because I've written a book, everything's going well. But actually 2 years ago, I made a loss on my business. This last year, I've made a profit, and I've got things in place now to keep on growing that this year. And it's people like that support. So I just want to put it out there. Put below, perhaps also share. Oh, I lost my voice now. Who it is that's supporting you. How do you feel about asking for support? Maybe share below the life lessons that you've had. Maybe there's been a difficult time, but how can you use that difficult time to inspire others? How can you use that difficult time to become a lesson that you really embed and embrace? Because this is probably the big thing for me. It's the final thing of the 7 steps. But actually, I spent a lot of time telling other people they mattered. But until I actually realised I mattered, and I could say it logically, but I didn't feel it in my body. And clean language was a way of me turning those words that I was saying out there into an embodied feeling. It was something that got into every fibre, every cell of my body, so that I truly believed it. And when I know now that I matter and that I make a difference, That's when I can show up and be the best version of me. So I've forgotten what number 3 is. Let's quickly go to the book. So let's have a quick check. So the whole of you. So this is, I've talked about your past story. So it is about your past story. But I think also one of the things that I know, and this is some of the work I got from, yes, and we do forget about ourselves. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've done all that. Totally get you. So please share below anything that you, anything we can do in this community, in the Facebook group. Let's start supporting each other. It's not just about me turning up and supporting you. It's about who can you help in the group? Who can you add value to? Who could you say today, well, you do this and that's made a difference to me? Who could you give a compliment to? Who could you inspire by speaking up? Doing something, send a card. What kindness can you share with anybody today that will help them know that they matter? And if you end up in the situation where I did, and I don't mean this to sound a bit self-pitying, but I was definitely in drama, where you feel like you're telling everybody else how wonderful they are, but you don't have people telling you how wonderful you are, then please speak up, use this group, say something about it, because I have always been loved, I have always been supported, but I've always been around people who assumed I was confident, who assumed I didn't need to hear it, and didn't understand how important it was for me to have external awareness of it. I'm an external person. So my husband, everyone knows, he's my rock, he's my soulmate, he's my best friend, and I love him to bits. But he's an internal processor, so he doesn't say very much. So he doesn't say how I add value. He doesn't give me specific evidence. So it was actually, I had to start surrounding myself with people. So Karen Williams and Steve, DL, Penny, Anne is a friend of mine as well. Basically, I had to surround myself with people and say to them, I know this sounds a bit needy, but can you tell me what it is that I do that makes a difference to you? Because the way that I learn is I hear things, and when I can hear it and I can see it. So if I do that and I hear you say that, I get that I make a difference, because I knew it logically, but I needed it to feel it, to really truly believe it. And it was only when I started to create my network, which is what we do now in our power group sessions that we have here once a month. So we have power group clarity sessions. So people get time to think about what they want, what they work. And at the end, we celebrate with each other to give people the external feedback system that helps them to embody that they are making change, that they make a difference, that they add value. And so it's when you look at the whole of it, and the big thing that made a massive difference to me was having more than, I reckon you probably need 6 to 8 people in your life, but a minimum of 3 that are helping you. One person is great. If you work with a coach and they're helping you, that's fantastic. But I believe that the way that the brain works is that you need at least 3 and up to 8 people who can consistently tell you what it is that you are doing that adds value to them. And depending on your learning style, depending on how you process information, depending on how your senses work, you might need to hear it, you might need to see it, you might need to feel it. But having that feedback, evidence-based, it needs to be very specific so that your brain can hang on to it and can embed it and hold on to it. So getting people in your life that will tell you how you add value is really, really important. And it can't always be your partner. Mark will ask me if I'm getting all stressed and stuff. I go, so what is working? What would you like to have happen? And I can ask him forever. If he says, oh, I love you, and I go, why do you love me? What is it you love? And it sounds weird. People go, oh, that's really needy, but it's not. I needed to have the evidence, because without the evidence, I can't learn and understand what it is that he sees as love. But when he started telling me things like, oh, well, you know, when I come home and there's a dinner on the table, I feel really loved. And I'm like, oh, so that's love. Okay, so I am loving. Oh, I am a kind person. You know, when you take care of the bank account, Sharon, sort it all out, and when you organise the events with our family, when you do those things, that makes a difference to my life. When I don't have to worry about those things when I'm at work, that matters. And it's like, oh, I get it now. But that was just me being me. I found that easy. And Karen Williams talks about this a lot, that people, when they write their books, often don't realise that the stuff you find easy, that you take for granted, is really valuable to other people. It really makes a difference. And I think it's important that you get peer learning groups that you can go to, mastermind groups, coaching groups, get a coach, get someone to help you recognise where you add value. And then you can start to, I mean, I did say one of the books was going to be how I trained him to listen and you not to nag, because I did have to train other people around me to listen and give me feedback. I needed to hear it in a specific way in order to grow. So the thing about the whole of it, the bit I want to sort of come down to, is that it comes down to models of 3. And for me, that's the difference. Have 3 more people in your life that can actually help you. Get up to 8, you're going to be really flying. If you can also look at 3 areas of your life. So when I talk about in the book, I give you the workbook that says working, learning and living. So it's like the 3 areas of your life. This year for me, I'm focusing on health, wealth and happiness, because I know that when you take 3 areas or 3 subjects and you have to stretch your brain. So your clarity is like focus, isn't it, down here? But when you stretch it out and you get the whole of you, whole of everything that matters to you, so it's how you feel inside and how people experience you on the outside, when you get that internal external feedback, then it all starts to connect. That's when all the dots come together. So thank you for joining us, Becky. I hope this has been of value to you. And you've put, we also feel because we do or give often without asking, we think we should have to ask for a confirmation of things that we do. So I'd ask you just to clarify with me in a minute, and maybe not, I might come in and just type some answers in a minute, but what kind of we should have to ask for confirmation, just to clarify for me, to make sure I understand what you mean. But also, I think it's about getting to know yourself well enough and understanding what you need. I needed to hear it because I was not remembering it. The way my memory recall works is I was remembering what I'd done wrong because when I upset people, I could feel it in my whole body. All right, if people gave me criticism, I would feel like a kick in the stomach, and so it would really resonate with me, so it would stay with me and I wouldn't forget it. If people were nice to me, I didn't have in the past a system to embed it inside so I could feel it as powerfully as I felt the insults and the criticism. And so I needed people to verbalize it. I needed people to write it down. So Ellen, this week, Ellen Watts, thanks very much for the card you sent me, because she verbalized and she put it in writing the difference that the silent writer retreat had made to her. And that makes a massive difference to me when I get a handwritten card through the post, because it means I've got it on there and I can read it now every day for a couple of weeks, and it starts to help sort of soak it into my cells so that I know what it is that the difference I make, because I'm still working on this. It still doesn't have well, it's starting to have that massive warm feeling at the same level and capacity that criticism used to have. And I'm noticing when people criticize me now, it's kind of like a bit fuzzy. It doesn't hit me like it used to before. So my energy and my focus has changed. So it is about finding out why you need, and you put, we do things for others when they have not asked. Yes, so they think they do things that show us they care, and they feel they show us how they feel without verbalizing it. Absolutely. So my understanding of that, Anne, is that one of the things I picked up for myself was that if people go, I don't feel too good, I would run around, and this is where you go back to the I in intention, is about drama. I'd go into rescue mode and start trying to help everybody. And then when I was trying to help everybody, I would then get really frustrated because I would go, I could do with a cup of tea. And then nobody was making me tea because I was just dropping hints. And what I realised over the years is that's my strength, and not everybody is capable of doing that. Not everybody picks up on those nuances. Not everybody hears those words. And sometimes I was making assumptions that people needed my help and they didn't. So I was running around doing all this stuff for them, then getting fed up because they weren't doing stuff for me. And actually the answer was much simpler. I'm noticing you're doing this. I want to know that you're okay and you're supported. Do you need any help from me? And I will tell you, 9 times out of 10, people would say no. And then instead of dropping hints, I would say, Mark, I'm really busy at the moment. I'm dying for a drink. Any chance you can make me a cup of tea? And guess what? He's usually, once he knows what I want and when I want it, and if he's free, he might go, I'll do it in 5 minutes or whatever. But generally, I get what I want when I ask for it. So one of the things I've had to learn is stop dropping hints and actually ask for what I want. But in order to do that, I had to take time out to think and get really clear about what I wanted. And what I want this year is health, wealth and happiness. What about you, guys? Please share below 3 things that you'd like to get out of 2017. And any feedback you've got for me. If this is adding value, if this is making a difference, then please share below, because as I just said, when I see it in writing, when I see it shared, when I see it's gonna, because every time you share it, that's another 100 people that get to see it. Every time we do that, that's when I can have a global difference. That's when I'm giving up an hour of my time here to share my story from the heart. That's when I know I have a global impact, is by using technology. So thanks ever so much for joining me today, guys. Hope that's been of value, and I'll see you again next week. But I will finish the 7 steps. So I'm going to start on thank you. Fab, thank you. So I'm going to be, so when you always make a difference and so much value, you've said Penny and Anne, this is where I'm going to get the evidence. So what is it you actually heard and saw that tells you I'm making a difference? Because that's kind of, this is what happens, so much value. So what is it? What's the value to you, Penny? Because get specific. One, it will help you because it will help you embed the learning that you've just got from me. And it helps me embed specifically what it is I'm doing that's helping so I can do it again. Because we have general things like be productive, be more effective, be efficient, kind, love, all these words, especially over Valentine's this week, where romance, we don't have a really clear definition of what they really mean to all of us. So when you give feedback, I know it's making you dig deeper and it's making you think a bit more, and I'm sorry for that. But please, if you can for today, just go, what is the value? What's the difference? Even now, inspiring us on a tired Friday morning. See, I'm not tired, so I'm sorry to hear that you're tired. But hopefully it's a good tired for you, DL. But again, inspiring. What kind of inspiring? What is it that's encouraging you? What is it specifically that I'm saying and doing that is making an impact to inspire you? You feel that you can see how much I care and genuinely want to help people. So you're gonna kill me now, Alan. But I say, so what is it that I'm physically doing that you see how much I care? What is it that what behaviour is it? What is it that I'm doing? Because when you get clear about that, two, if it helped me do more of it because I can get clear of it. Two, it updates my system that it's working. Bang! All right, you shot me. Bang. But also for you, that if you're modelling somebody, if you're thinking, do you know, I'm not saying you want to be like me, but if you are looking out there and you're going, oh, I wish I could be like that person. When you start to go, okay, so I want to be like, let's say arguments that you want to be like me. So you want to be someone that has clarity and confidence. You want to be able to handle change. You want to be comfortable with uncomfortable. You want to be able to do videos, whatever it is you see about me. If you get really clear, what is it specifically that I'm doing? And you break it down into that more detail, then you'll understand how to do it. And so you will be able to learn from the people that inspire you. You will be able to take on those energies. You will be able to learn from them. And I hope that's going to be helpful. I know I'm way over it. It's 8:40. I was supposed to do 15 minutes. And I extended it to half an hour. But as we're all here and we're all talking, I've decided that I'll just stay with you. So thank you. Enthusiasm, nurturing words, your spoken word, we wouldn't know otherwise. Absolutely, Penny. I have to say, I do tend to speak from the heart. I do say it as it is. There's never any doubt about how I'm thinking or feeling, and that's a good thing when I'm telling everybody my good news. When you live with me and you hear about how bad I feel, that's also not so nice for my family. So it has a pro and a con side of it. And I will say to you, those people that are internal processes, I understand it's more difficult for you because you want to make sure it's all really clear in your head before you speak. You want to make sure you get it absolutely right before it comes out. But one of the things that Mark and I as a couple have had to work with is that whilst I respect and understand that's his strength, that he keeps quiet, he doesn't have to talk everything out, he doesn't have to talk about everything, that actually it makes a huge difference when he speaks up and says what he thinks and how he feels and what he wants. So I have to learn to be quieter, hence all the silent retreats. And those of you that are more internal processors, please speak up and tell people what you want, tell them what your strengths are, and tell other people what you value about them, because I think that's when we can really work at our best with each other and collaborate on a whole new level. Caring enough to stay. Thank you. Is there any other questions before I go? Because I'm happy to be here. I don't have any calls till 1 o'clock. I've got to do my month end bookkeeping. Yes, Steve, I need to do my month end ready for my big statistics. However, I'd much rather be here helping you guys. And while we're both here and we're all engaged, is there any questions that you have for me or for each other? And please put them below. And if not, I will log off. And please share, guys. Please support each other. Use this group. It's not about me coming in every week and sparking it off. This is a safe space where we're going to learn to love each other, value each other, and collaborate on a whole new level and make massive difference in the world. Any questions? If not, I'm going to love you and leave you. See you again soon. I will be on next Friday. Please tell me what you'd like the subject to be. And if I don't hear from you, I'm going to be sharing with you some of my exciting news about some health, wealth, and happiness mastermind groups that I want to be setting up from March, and I'll tell you that we'll start exploring together live what we can here every Friday. Speak to you soon. Bye.